The glitter of London is dimming as the city's millionaires are now making, well, an exit faster than we can speak. 11,000 millionaires fled London in 2024 alone, the largest exodus in recent memory. Why? From steel magnate Lakshmi Mittal to top financiers, the message is clear. London is now losing its edge. Once a crown jewel of global finance, London now faces a reckoning. High taxes, post-Brexit fallout, and the end of the non-dom tax regime. A deal breaker for the ultra-rich. From Singapore to San Francisco, the wealthy are chasing opportunity and shelter from rising tax burdens. London just slipped out of the top 5 wealthiest cities for the first time in decades. The rise of Asia, the boom in US tech hubs, and the fall of the London Stock Exchange. Is this the end of London's reign or just the beginning of a new world wealth order? The rich are on the move, and it seems that the world map of money is being redrawn. What does this mean for the UK? And is this a trend that is now irreversible? Let's get a Nicholas Nugent to talk to me on this. Nicholas, this should be, if the Labour government is watching these trends, they should be deeply worried because you do not want the wealthiest leaving your country.
Well, if I may say so, I think you've slightly overstated the case. I mean, it's true that the non-dom status, so-called, which allows non-permanent residents, no, I've got this a bit wrong, but those who earn money overseas to avoid UK tax. Now, that's changed, yes. And that's, I think, the most significant part of the change of tax regime you're talking about. And it's true that that has led a certain number of rich people to leave the UK for perhaps a more comfortable regime. But I think it's really only quite a small part of what's going on. And as I say, I don't think, as you put it, London has ended its status in that way. Maybe it's no longer the tax haven it was for some. And you mentioned the fall in the stock market. Well, that's very much to do with what's going on in the United States, the tariff regime. And indeed, our stock market hasn't fallen as sharply as that in the United States. So I see it as a sort of gradual change.
I take your point about London Stock Exchange, that markets are something that could be also immediate because they are reacting to Trump tariffs. But the fact is, in the last decade, there are only 2 cities where the number of billionaires or millionaires have actually gone down. One is Moscow, for obvious reasons, of course, and the second is London. So it's not a trend that started yesterday. I'm talking about a decade-long trend.
Well, I would find it harder to explain that because, I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe that they find it more attractive to live in the Middle East, for example, in Dubai, but London has a lot of attractions. I don't live in London myself. I live in the west of England. So, and I'm not a millionaire, so I can't really judge what has led people to flee. But yes, the tax regime has tightened. And I think actually I would say that it's come more into line because you see, if I earn money in India, I don't get paid in the UK unless it's been cleared through the 2 tax authorities. And the same if I earn money in the United States. I have to submit tax papers to show that my tax regime is a UK one. Mm-hmm. So I think really what's happening with this non-dom status removal is really just bringing things into line, making sure that even the rich are subject to the same tax jurisdiction as those who are less well off. Mm-hmm. But you talk of a flight of millionaires, and I think you're thinking mainly of foreigners, non-Brits who have decided to live elsewhere. I think that's still quite a small proportion of the total. But I don't know, maybe you're right. Who's looking for a tax haven? I'm not. I choose to live in a country where I feel comfortable.
I would be having a separate conversation if a British journalist would be telling me on the show that he's a millionaire. I would have been having a separate conversation altogether. But Nicholas, the fact is the data shows that 18 centimillionaires, which is those who had 100 million and plus, and 2 billionaires are in this list. So to that extent, you do want the ultra-rich to leave because at the end of the day, it also impacts the government's, the exchequer's finances, doesn't it?
Well, you've made a point, but let me ask you then. Firstly, what should I do about it? clearly I have no such power, so I can't do anything about it. But if you're challenging the Labour government, what they should do about it, again, I don't begin to know what the answer to that is. The government are trying to enforce a reasonably orderly tax regime. And I think a lot of people would argue that the removal of the non-dom status was justified. As you probably know, the most well-known non-dom person last year was the Prime Minister's wife, Akshata Murthy.
Yeah.
And when it became known that she benefited from this thing, I think even the Conservative government at the moment was rather embarrassed. So I see it as bringing things into line. I don't see this sort of sudden upset with the strength of the economy that you're describing. And frankly, you're talking to me today, there's a much bigger story to do with tax, which is on at the moment, and I will mention that, which is the steel, whether Britain should be self-sufficient in steel production. And that affects India, it affects China.
Indeed, Nicholas, and I'm going to end this because I'm running out of time by saying that I'm going to have that discussion sooner than later on India Global.